All right, Cousin Tone. Our next guest has combined my two favorite passions, collecting and basketball, and he's become one of the most recognizable faces in the hobby. I can't wait to hear about his crazy cards, his crazy memorabilia, and an even crazier setup to display all of his hobby goodness. So enough of my mouth. Let's get to the man of the hour, John, the basketball card guy. Welcome, John, to the Cousins Collectibles podcast. How are you doing on
Thanks,
this
guys.
fine evening, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Listen, man, I'm looking at your background, bro. First things first, we got to talk about the display. So we were on your Instagram and we seen your preview. I guess you just moved from what I can understand. Yeah. So, I mean, your display before was sick, but now I'm even looking at it. This one is even sicker. So give us a breakdown of what you got going on back there.
Yeah. So it's under development. You guys are the first ones to see it in the new space.
Nice.
So literally took hours today to put it together. I'm like, I gotta have something here that's, finally put together. But yeah, I had a whole custom shelf that's made along with display cases for the cards. So I wanted something to feel like I had like a showcase like a store would have, like if I was in my LCS. But at the same time, in my old house, I had a huge storage issue where like I had no place to store boxes and stuff. So the coolest thing about this setup is you see all the displays across, but
so they open up.
Okay. They open up and they have storage inside.
So you just got boxes upon boxes inside. So first you could see the cards out front. Those are display cases, and they have all your bangers, your singles.
Yep.
And then you can just open it up, and then you got your boxes.
And it was specifically sized to fit the boxes that we all have, those shoe boxes, the 2 rows. So I built it. I designed it out. I drew a sketch of it, and I had a carpenter come and just make it. And it was just awesome. Like it really it took up every inch of space possible, to get the stuff right. And I was like, we built it in January of last year. And then I'm like, it's a year later. And I'm like, I can't just leave it in the house that I'm selling. This has to come with. And so we disassembled it and reassembled it here.
So the top piece, that's not all one piece, is it? You had to...
No, so the top piece is this reclaimed wood. It's this beautiful live edge. Something I picked out at a mill in Connecticut. There's this wood mill. It's just awesome. Sawmill. It's just a sick piece of wood. And so they stained it for me. And so that was the inspiration behind the whole thing. I wanted just something like natural and cool looking. On the topic of the house, though, I have to put this video together. It's not together yet. But when we were doing the home tours and the real estate sale, people, they come in to open houses. They come in to tour your house. No one knew that room was there, right? And so you have if we're honest about it, it's usually like if you've got a man and a woman in a relationship looking for a house, it's usually the lady that's excited about the home, and pulling the husband around and being like, this is what we're going to, look at the kitchen. It's beautiful. Oh, the bathroom, we're gonna do. So I had cameras throughout my house because of security freak and those kinds of senses. And I had a couple of cameras, obviously, in the card room for security reasons as well. The reactions from the guys when they hit that room, it's like they're sleepy in the whole rest of the house. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we need this house.
Yeah, this is the one.
They all saw the Shaq shoe. That was like
that's a 22, right?
22. Yeah, size 22 Shaq shoe. I mean, they were all like, what? And they all knew who it was immediately. They saw the pump and it was like, oh my God, so
the pump too.
So I swear Shaq helped me sell the house. People, I'm like,
now all the sneakers you have, they're all signed, right?
Yes. All the shoes are signed. Not all of them are like game worn. A couple are. Some of them are player issued, like game issued, like they had them there, like the I don't know which other Tyler Heroes I have over here. Were from back when he was in Kentucky. Those were game issued shoes that he signed. You can't. They're actually like Kobe shoes. I'll grab them real quick.
This is crazy, man. This is like you're setting the bar super high here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, totally. So these are the Kobe's, right? And so you could not get these shoes. You cannot buy these shoes in the store with the UK logo on them.
Wow.
Okay.
They were only given to the players, specifically Tyler Hero in this case, and you can see his numbers written on the back there.
Yeah.
And so he signed that one here in silver. So I got this from my buddy Jimmy, the Kentucky Roadshow, in a trade. I did a card trade. I had a Tyler Hero card that he had been looking for the better part of a year, and he was making like a subset, and he's like, dude, I need that card. Like, let's figure out something. So he's trying to put together cards and stuff. He goes, forget about cards. I know exactly what you want. I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't even know these existed, but he's like, I have 2 pairs of these. You're getting one. I'm like,
Wow.
all right, this sounds perfect. So added it to the collection, but
that's super dope. So John, you got to tell us, man, tell us about your journey. How did you come, you got all of this, you're the basketball card guy. And we always talk about origin stories. Now, you don't have to get in all, way specific, like when you were 2 years old collecting, Michael Jordans. But, just give us a brief synopsis of where you were, how you got to where you're at, and what you collect. What's your PC looking like?
Yeah. So, I mean, it did start out when I was a kid. But the real turning point for me was my first job was at a card store when I was 14, my first retail job. So I was the night manager. I closed up the shop at night in Mount Kisco, New York, Westchester County. For those of you that have been to New York shows, it was very close to the White Plains show that everyone talks about in New York. So I worked in that store for a few years, never took home a paycheck at all, went into buying cars. So I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? It was great. I think my parents didn't like that idea, but it just, whatever. It was great.
How are you going to have a job and not make no money?
Right, exactly. When I went to college, I started doing some web design stuff. I was also in media in general and video production and things. And so I built a website for a local card shop up in upstate New York. So I kind of dabbled there. There was kind of a hint of what the future might hold. And then I just continued to collect on the side and everything I was doing. So I worked in New York City for a few years, almost 10 years, in a consulting firm. And I was doing the business thing on one side. And then this was my, place to relax and just kind of continue the collection and really no intention to sell anything. I was just amassing a collection that I enjoyed. It was a way to escape, kind of the daily stuff.
Right.
Flash forward to about maybe 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago now. I decided, I'd been to so many of these card shows, I could set up at a card show. Why not? So I started setting up at the card shows. I had a different name originally. I was called NBA Trader was my original name. And then I decided not to let that go too long because I didn't want the NBA getting mad at me for using NBA and something. So everyone at the show that I went to, every time I set up, it was almost like it was kind of like a bash on me. They would always go, "Oh, that's the basketball card guy." Like what an idiot. He only has basketball. Like, what a moron. And 6 years ago, it's a very different market than it is today. 6 years ago, basketball was not the highest values, And so, I mean, I looked like the moron.
Yeah,
but
it was all vintage baseball.
Right, exactly. People wanted, and they wanted the modern stuff too. But
yeah,
they were like, "Why wouldn't you have some football in your case too?" And I'm like, "Because I don't watch it. I'm not into it. Like, basketball is what I love, so that's what I collect. I don't, why wouldn't I have all basketball? I don't know." So, and so that's kind of what led me here. You started an Instagram back, 5-6 years ago, and just started posting, my collection, and always willing to help out, answer any questions. A lot of folks that were jumping into things, especially in the last couple of years, trying to collect 90s stuff and so confused over what they were looking at. And so I was always happy. I answer every DM, and I'm very, as you guys saw too, I'm very responsive. I want to help out because I remember when I was living it, both when I was a kid and even when I was older, if there are just certain things that you don't have, or there's things you want to have that input. And so I created a website around it, basketballcardguy.com. I started selling a few items out of my collection. It was mainly if I had 6 autographs of one guy, I would either pick the most expensive one that I felt like maybe I didn't really need, or my least favorite, and I would toss those up on the site. And they were all cool because, I mean, I bought them at one point. I love them when I bought them, So, and then I just took that and I put it into other cards, and so the last 2.5-3 years, I haven't put a single dollar in that didn't come out of something else that was already in it. So I had a very different experience than a lot of people that kind of jumped in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I in hindsight, like if I were into it for the money, like I could have made a ton had I been putting money into it.
Right.
You know, I was just like very careful about no, I got to sell something else because I want to buy that.
Yeah,
And it, you know, and so because look, for me, it's always been a hobby. It's always a hobby first. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun.
But you were being fiscally responsible as well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I wasn't pulling money I didn't have.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, brother. That's the way to do it. So what would you say? I mean, I can see a ton of stuff, you know, different players and things, but like what's your main PC? Like who I know you said you started out with Michael Jordan, which most of us did. And then you know, where did you branch off from that?
Jordan was always the big one for me when I was young. I remember sending in pictures to Beckett magazine, you know, and I never got selected because everybody collected Jordan, so it wasn't that unique. But I have about 4,000 Michael Jordan cards. I mean, that's where the collection stands today. Most of those are lower dollar, obviously, but I do have, you know, some high end, you know, Grail,
I'm sure you do.
You know?
I'm sure you do.
And you know, and that's still the like kind of the bread and butter, you know, fun stuff that I love. Kobe Bryant was one that I collected his rookie year in '96. He and Allen Iverson like collected a ton of them because that was really my peak year of collecting. I was working in the store, spending every cent on cards, you know, and just, you know, and stuff was cheap then, you know, I remember all of that really well.
Listen, a lot of people don't like Allen Iverson, so if you just want to get rid of those, you can, you know, I'll take them off your hand.
I've heard that. No, it's funny. Like, so I met him like 4 times in the last year.
Really?
He's been doing a lot of events.
Yes,
he was doing signings, and he was at the National, and so I was at the parties at the National that he was at, and I was backstage at the at one of the autograph signings he was doing as well. And it's so interesting. He's hit or miss too. Like he has some days where he's like, he is the man. He's just fun to hang out with. And then there's days where you clearly see he does not want to do this right now. I'm sure that's for all of us. We all have days like that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just what a cool, like for me. And I started thinking about like, what do I want to have signed? And I started thinking through like, what cards do I have that are in my collection that would be cooler if I actually got them signed? And so I started down that line and got a few things that were really neat. The Dunkin' Go Nuts actually was one that Golden actually picked up on, and they posted something and said, this is the coolest
was that yours
card they have ever seen. Like it just looked cool.
So dope. Tony has one. You got a 10, right?
I have a 10, and that thing, and it's immaculate. When I bought it, the guy's like, look, this thing is as good because they're known for their yellowing.
Yeah.
And I have it in a dark. I have it in the darkest place, and I'm scared.
In the dark.
Yeah, I have it in the dark, and every once in a while I crack it. And I'm looking. I'm like, it is sweet. That set is to me is fire. I haven't. The 90s basketball, I grew up on that. We both grew up on that. And to me, there's a steep learning curve. I haven't gotten there yet. That once I finish kind of what I'm doing with Roberto Clemente that's where I can see myself going. But I'm going to have to go to, you know, hobby night school like that.
That's what we got John for.
I can help you guys out.
Did you complete the set? I noticed I seen on your website you were looking for 2 more. I think like Tracy McGrady or somebody else for that.
Yeah, it's the big one right now is Vince Carter. I don't have in that set. I think I'm missing 4 right now out of the 20. Okay. So I need to track that better when I'm at shows. Like I'll remember like one card I need, but then not all of them. And then I kick myself after. I'm like, oh, I could have done it. Doesn't matter. I'm in no rush. Like that's the thing. Like I feel like collecting, when you start to rush with stuff like that, either you're going to stress yourself out, which is like the antithesis of having a hobby. Like why would you be stressed about your hobby, right? Or you make stupid decisions and you pay way too much. Like, you know, I just got to finish the set, so I'll pay 3 times what it's worth. It's like, why? And then you have the set completed, and then you're going to remember, like, I was an idiot. I just paid 3
Well, you know what happens is a lot of the people that just came in, you know, they took a break, they collected as kids, they came back because of COVID or whatever reason, and then it's the FOMO. And when the you know, when it was going up and everything was hitting its peak, everybody's like, oh my God, if I don't get it now, I'm never going to be able to afford it. So then everybody, all the money's coming in and it's just flying. Everything's coming off the shelves. You couldn't find wax anywhere. So that's what it was. It was just that FOMO was at an all-time fever pitch. And now it's like everybody's like, wait, you know what? We could take our time. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon and it's a hobby. So like, let's have fun doing it instead of, being stressed out and trying to figure out, well, if I get this today, maybe I can sell it for, 5 times tomorrow. And you're going like way beyond what you need to be doing. It's like, yo, just chill.
100%.
That's crazy. So John, I saw a good portion of your PC is made up of raw cards. So
yeah,
does condition matter when you're picking these cards up, or is it about getting the card into your collection?
Condition absolutely matters. It's funny because a lot of folks they're like, oh, you don't grade, so do you just not care? Like, can you just have a card bent in half? And it's like, no, it's just I have 2 eyes, just like the graders do. And as long as I can see the card in person, I mean, it's different on the internet. There's a little bit harder time there, where I do at times favor a graded card on the internet, because at least I know a third party has looked at it and weighed in. But if I'm going to a show, I would much rather have a raw card. That I look at, I get to see it. I can examine it better when it's raw too, because if it's in like a mag, you can take the top off and you can take a look,
Right.
So I feel more comfortable buying cards that are raw when I'm in person with them. They also cost less. I mean, why pay the grading tax on something that, it's just that kind of, I never understood that. And protection wise, there's been, and I did a whole video on this a few years ago, but on YouTube, but protection wise, like UV rays are the killer of these cards. We were just talking about the Dunkin' Go Nuts a minute ago. Like, that's one that's yellowing because of that. If you look at the 90s refractors, they turn green, or people call it hulking. That is mainly driven by UV. And the cases, through, as far as I know, through all the grading companies, just because of the way it is, they have some UV protection in the plastic that they've made, but that protection can only last so long. And so one of the grading companies, I forget which one it was, but they had mentioned at one point that it's about 5 years that lasts.
Oh.
So if you start to think about that, if you graded a card 5 years ago and you're taking it to show, or you're putting it on the shelf now, and you're like, wait a minit, is that autograph going to fade, or is it going to change colors? Because you can see like Kobe Bryant's Chrome rookie, you'll see some that are, PSA 10s that are hulking now. They're not 10s anymore, but that changed while it was in the case. So sometimes, like, I always tell people, like, even if you're buying a graded card, you need to look at it. You need to look really close and treat it like a raw card. Also, not all grades are equal. If you're buying an 8, like, I'm satisfied with an 8, PSA, BGS, you name it, SGC, any of them. If I look at it and the qualities of the card match what I'm looking for, like, I'm a stickler for centering. If the card's off centered, and the corners are perfect and the edges are fine, blah, blah, blah. The surface is great, but it's off centered. Like, an 8 would bother me. I wouldn't want to look at the card. It just wouldn't look right. Whereas if it's like, if just the edges are a little bit off, or something that is not apparent when you're looking at the card, I don't mind buying an 8, so.
So two things that popped in my head. So you have, obviously you have your cards displayed, and some of them are in mags. Penny sleeve in the mag, or no penny sleeve?
It depends on the size of the card, and it depends on if the autograph is on the card. For me, like the immaculate cards, there's a penny sleeve I put on the front of it in between, so that the autograph doesn't rub off on the surface. If it's a card that has like a sticker autograph already, I'm not like a stickler for that. I usually just put it in a mag without the piece on the front. It just depends how sticky the autograph is. And that's usually determined by the surface of the card that it's on. It's also sometimes the marker that they use. Like, they're supposed to use, like, these are the standard, like the Stadlers. Like, this is what Panini sends out. And this is like the kind of go-to kind of autograph pen marker that you see. That I had nearby, which is great. I don't know if I have one of the other ones. The ones I bring to shows are... I don't have one here. Oh, is this one? Yeah. So the ones I bring to shows are usually blue, but they're the Sharpie Extreme Fade Resistant. And this is a big, and it says it's exactly what it sounds like, right? This is a marker, is an ink that's been developed so that it doesn't fade over time.
Wow.
It's also stickier. So if you're getting like a finest card sign or anything with a chrome finish to it, a regular Sharpie will bubble. This doesn't. It also dries faster, so it doesn't smear.
So what did you use on that Dunkin' Go Nuts? Was it that?
Extreme fade resistant blue.
Nice.
Yep. And that's why it was so bold and didn't bubble at all, and it stuck
Beautiful.
perfectly, and it's
That's
not rubbing,
awesome.
you know, like, so that's really but that's the kind of thing, like, I talk about this more often than not with some of my friends. But my good friends, David was going out. He's a big Clyde Drexler collector, and he's getting to meet Clyde for the first time at a show. And he went overboard. I think he bought 12 autographs and like 6 inscriptions, right? And so he's asking me like, well, what marker should I use for each card? And I said, dude, bring your own markers, but test them first. Like, literally find cards that are similar to the cards you're going to get signed, same kind of paper stock and stuff. Sit there yourself, scribble on them, see how it looks. Because the last thing in the world you want is to bring like $100 card or a $300 card or something. And he was bringing like a star rookie of Clyde Drexler's, the XRC. It's like, you want that to come out right. You don't want to have a situation where it's ruined. I'll give you guys actually a separate story on that. One of my favorite autographed items ever is staring at me here. It's this. So this was the EX2000 promo that went out to stores. So when I was working in Westchester County back in the day, the store, they were actually all numbered on the back too. You can see their serial number on the back down there. But these were sent out when the first EX came out. Like, they were promoting this set, which became legendary.
So is that an 8x10? Like what?
Yeah, it's about 8x10. Maybe it's a little bit smaller in one dimension. I'm just thinking like a piece of paper, but it is roughly an 8x10. And this was it's a card that I had for years. It has the clouds that you can see through. Like, I'll probably grab a light here behind it. You can see,
it's
like,
one of my favorites. Yeah,
you know, just an awesome jumbo. So I had this sitting on my shelf for years, and last year I had the opportunity to meet Grant Hill, and I was like, "This is what I'm getting signed," you know. So he signed it in white paint pen. Again, another selection where I spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah.
But the part of the story that's really interesting is it was a book signing. He signed this. He then signed a book with a marker. He put the book on top of this, and all the paint smeared. Like the card looked ruined. And we had just spent 2 minutes talking about how cool it was that I kept this all these years. So you could see his face and my face at the same time. I have this on video. I have to pull the clip of it. But it was just like, you could see like we're both like, I can't believe this just happened. But he was quick to act. He said, wait, it's smeared off. Do you think if we got a tissue, could we wipe the whole thing off?
Yeah.
And so they grabbed a staff member. He grabbed the tissue. He wiped it off. And then he re-signed it.
Nice.
Wow.
I mean, that's somebody that cared about the collector, you know, who understood that the importance of this wasn't just like getting an autograph that day. You know, I wasn't going to go sell it. It's going to be in my collection forever, you know, like, and so it was kind of a neat thing there too.
Gotcha.
So always know your markers, always test out ahead of time.
I literally just had that conversation with a friend of the show, the commish today. He's going to the Flyers Carnival in a few months, and he wants it's a specific card he wants signed, but he's in a forum, and he's like, hey, if anybody has, I think it's 2012 Young Guns or something like that. He's like, junk ones. I don't care what they are. Please send them
test.
I just want to test them. I have a bunch of markers. And so I like I said, I literally just had that conversation today. And Oz, before I kick it to you. So with the mag, because that's something I've talked to a lot of people with the penny sleeve. You'll just put the penny sleeve on top of the card and then close the mag over, not put the card in the penny sleeve. Because sometimes they don't, some of them do fit, some of them don't, but just
so ProMold came out with one. So ProMold was, I believe, actually the inventor of those mags originally, and then Ultra Pro kind of came in and took it. I'm fairly certain. And ProMold's a US company, which is great too if you support the US companies. They started selling one with the penny sleeve in it that's bigger than the card, like that the opening is larger than the card. That's an important distinction. If you have a regular mag, like an Ultra Pro mag, a 35 point, and you're trying to put the card in the penny sleeve and jam it in there, you're probably going to damage your card. So make sure it's designed for that first. Otherwise, just putting the sleeve on the front of the card and then you just laying it on top of that. It's good. They're pretty much anyone that makes the sleeves now is doing that. No acid based covering, so it helps just preserve that, and you don't have to worry about the autograph rubbing off.
Good. Now, when you're buying raw, real quick, piggybacking off of that, like, how about like fake cards. You know, how good are you at detecting this? Obviously, if you're buying raw all the time, you're going to shows, you probably have a lot better knowledge than the regular Joe Schmo. But like, how do you go about that?
I mean, I know most of the stuff. If there's something that like I'm on the borderline on where I can't detect, I usually know somebody else that I can reach out to. You don't buy anything you're not 100% sure on. I mean, is just the rule of thumb. And if something is priced extremely low, like realize there's probably something wrong with it. I mean, it's just like anything else in life. It's not, you know, I think a lot of people that go out to those kinds of shows and they find something like that, they're like, "Oh, I'm putting one over on the dealer." It's not likely, you know. It's not likely, you know. And if it's sitting in a case and it's got a price on it, other people have passed on it, so there might be a reason why.
Have you ever gotten scammed by anybody, or you've been lucky?
I've gotten scammed online before. I don't know if I have it handy. I might. There were a whole bunch of. I'm just seeing if it's in here. I might have it in there. I'll just describe it first.
Sure.
There are a whole bunch of scoreboard buyback cards that ran rampant on eBay for a while. A lot of Kobe Bryant autographs that were no good. And then the one in particular that I got was a Scottie Pippen. And the autographs look like dead on. I mean, if you were authenticating the autograph and you just looked at the autograph, you would say, yeah, that's likely real. I mean, it would pass PSA, BGA. I mean, you look at the autograph looks perfect. I think someone was doing it with an auto pen, like literally a machine holding a marker that was, had a perfect autograph that they were running off of. And so, I mean, it looked authentic. To add to that, they put an embossing logo, the scoreboard logo on, which apparently came out of when there was a bankruptcy back in the day and these stamps got out. So you combine these two things, and if you look at the card, let me see if I have the Pippin. If you look at the card on its own, if you just looked at the autograph, you would say, oh yeah, that's likely real. But then when you see the scoreboard logo in it, that's when it was like, this is not real, you know, like so. So that was the tip off to me when I had it in hand. Actually, I'll show you another one too. I got from a vendor who I actually told him that this particular one wasn't real. I'll show this one to you guys because it's even more ridiculous, but it just shows that some of these things get out there.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. If you don't know what you're looking at, and like you said, if it looks legit, you some people could just totally bypass the score, you know, and looking at, you said, the autograph, the emboss.
If you just look at some elements, you're not seeing the whole picture.
I don't think you're an official member of the hobby until you get scammed at least once.
Exactly.
So that's like the
I mean, so this is a famous card too. I haven't posted this on Instagram yet. I need to, because it's amazing. This vendor, he offered it to me for $125, which I think is the going rate that they go for. It was a Skybox dual autograph, Magic Johnson and Jim Kelly. What an interesting combo, right? Right? Weird, you know? But unfortunately, while the card is authentic, it was the autographed card. I mean, here, I'll show you here. This is the front.
Right.
This is what they look like, Magic Johnson. Yeah. And here's the Jim Kelly. Right.
Okay.
You will quickly recognize that is not Magic Johnson's autograph. And I don't know who signed that either. But, you know, so this was just like this is one of those situations where it was a glaring, you know, no way that's real. So I told him, and he knows that I'm well respected in the zone, and he goes, you know what? Just take it. Like, just take it. Spread the word about that. Like, just, you know, I don't even want to charge you. Like, that's insane. You know, so he went from asking for $125 to just take it. You know.
So do you think he knew?
I don't know, honestly. Like, I bought a number of things from this guy.
He's like, you got me here. Just tell everybody that it's
embarrassed more so than anything else, honestly. Yeah. So he may not have known.
Yeah.
But it's like he's seen a Magic Johnson autograph before. Yeah. Like, don't you realize like that doesn't look anything like it.
But both Both things are literally printed. It wasn't even a signature. It just says Jim Kelly in print.
I know, like someone wrote.
Well,
that's unfortunately that's how the kids are signing stuff today. They don't learn the cursive.
They don't know cursive.
Yeah. The cursive is a lost art.
Yeah,
but it's crazy. It's just literally printed. It says, the one says Magic Johnson, and the other one's like that is wild.
That's great.
That's
John,
crazy.
Yeah,
I need to know about this Derek Jeter autographed baseball that you got, man.
Yeah,
I know you went and got that earlier on, so you got to tell us the story, the whole story, man.
So, so one of the great things about kind of the convergence of my life at this point is, I run a media company. I do a lot of video production and outside internet things, way beyond the sports realm, way beyond cards. But in the last few years, some of my friends in cards have been asking, wait a minute, can I hire you to do this? Or can I hire you to do that? Or can we partner up? Or, can you help me in these kind of different respects? And so one of those companies that approached me is Arena Club. Arena Club is a new marketplace grading company. It's a mixture of a lot of things. But the big claim to fame that everyone knows about when they hear the name, if they've heard the name before, is that Derek Jeter is a partner there. So he's an owner of this company. I was asked to do a video for the Dallas show to announce like the launch of this company. And as part of that, they invited me to their New York actual launch party that took place at Yankee Stadium. And so there was just a small group of us that were there for this. I felt kind of out of place because I was, like, I'm not even a baseball guy, but it was meant to be. It's like one of those situations where when you're in it, you're just like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe like all the pieces are coming together. But the story kind of dates back to 2014. It's actually the last Yankee game I attended right now, like in person, was back in 2014. A friend of mine had season tickets and we would go a lot of the time. And he had great seats. I mean, incredible seats, 8 seats on the Yankee dugout. I mean, like on the first baseline, unbelievable. You could talk to the players. If you yelled something, they heard and they responded. Like I always saw, like, what are people yelling in the stands for? No one ever hears you. No, they heard there.
Wow.
So this one game I went to, July 22nd, 2014, Derek Jeter was doing the normal kind of practice. He does this long toss with another member. He's known for it. Keep getting progressively longer. The guy's out in outfield and they're like throwing the ball. At the end of that, he tossed me the ball. And so I had this ball from that game. It's crazy, and it's not uncommon, like I said, in that seating zone, like, because they're walking back to the dugout. If you can make eye contact, you can say, hey. So he tossed me the ball. 2 years later, I was on Steiner Sports on their website, and they had a Black Friday sale, and they were selling game used bases signed by Derek Jeter. Awesome. And so I don't know how many they had, probably 50, 100, who knows? Like, I don't know how many they did with him, but whatever. So I bought one. And I'm like, this would be great. A week later, this base shows up in the mail as a random base. And I open up, it comes with a letter of authenticity and everything. I open up the letter and I'm reading the letter and it says that the base was used on July 22nd, 2014. And I'm like, wait a minute, that was the game I was at the last. I'm like, and I'm looking through my tickets and I'm like, that was the last game I ever saw Derek Jeter play in. I'm like, that was a game that he tossed me the ball. I flip over the base and on the back of the base, it's the first base. It's literally the base sitting in front of me during that game. So I had videos that I shot on my phone of that game that I went back to. I'm like, oh my God, that's the base. So this is I'll show you guys the base first here, but it's super heavy too. Like it's like,
that's crazy.
So that's the game used base. You can see all the dirt still on it.
Yeah.
Here's a character, Derek Jeter's autograph there. Super heavy. Like I had no idea how heavy like actual MLB bases were, but it's massive. It's also big. I mean, but the crazy part about this was going to this event, a few months ago at the launch of Arena Club. I grabbed the ball that he tossed me in 2014. I tossed it in my bag, he wasn't going to be signing. Like it was like I was told, like it's not going to. And I said, all right, that's totally fine. I won't ask. I'm just going to have it in my bag just in case, you
never
serendipity
know.
falls and it happens.
Sure.
And sure enough, the gentleman who had invited me into it, he had talked to Jeter's agent, and he mentioned like he actually caught a ball from Jeter once. She goes, "Oh my god, like I'm sure Derek would sign it." And I'm like, so I came up, I told him the whole story, and it was incredible. So he signed the ball right over the practice sign. He's like, "Where should I sign it?" And I'm like, "You could sign it right over where it says practice. It's fine. It's part of the story,
Yeah.
So he signed it. It's funny. I had to consult. We were talking about markers and stuff earlier. I had to consult with a good friend of mine from Florida who exclusively gets autographs on baseballs. And so, like, it doesn't matter if they're political people, celebrity, it doesn't matter. Like, It's always on a baseball. So I called him up and I'm like, what pen or marker do we use for this? Just in case I get the chance. And so I had the chance. I spent about 5 hours with Derek. Like, it was crazy.
Nice.
Like, there was just so much stuff that was going on. We had a suite at the stadium. And so got to talk with him a bit, and just what a nice, down-to-earth guy. And he had, I really want to see more marketing around this, coming with the marketing hat,
Sure.
But he had a collection of his own cards that his mom collected. Like, so he wasn't collecting actively, but his mom was collecting cards of him, as my mom would have collected of me. Actually, here's one of me right there. That was my baseball. That's what my mom collected.
There you go.
But they were all lost in a flood. And it's crazy when you hear about that. An arena club, one of the things they do is they vault cards. And so when you send the cards in for grading, like, they then vault them and keep them protected. And thinking just about that, like, had his mom had arena club back when, they'd still have his cards. And it's just, I would love to see more marketing around that, because I think it's such an important message. A lot of people I know aren't comfortable vaulting for one reason or another, or they're like me and they just want their cards around so that they can look at them every day. Totally get it. But there are reasons to do it, and it's just pretty amazing.
That's definitely, I'm down here. This is my man cave, but I'm in my basement, and it has flooded before. So that's like my biggest fear, something like that happening. Yeah, that definitely. Now, I guess the question is, did you get a gift back from Derek Jeter?
I did not.
After a 5 hour date, you didn't even
get a drink. I didn't meet at the bar. Man, what a nice guy, though. I gotta say, like, really, I've met a lot of folks. I worked in the music industry for a good decade as well, and met a lot of celebrity musicians. And I mean, he just he really he had a great personality about it, and just a good vibe. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know many people other than sports fans that don't like him, because he is Mr. Perfect, that have many bad things to say about him. But,
I mean, you think about, like, I was thinking about this, like, just even around the launch, and when I was doing the video stuff for them, like, I can't think of too many other people in the world in sports that are so well liked. And he's not like the top of his game, right? Like, he's not the best baseball player of all time. He wouldn't be like on like crazy lists like that. When you think about basketball, people talk about who would be the best spokesperson. Well, we want LeBron James or Michael Jordan. Okay, I get it, right? Derek Jeter doesn't have like that, but he is that guy. He's the guy that you would want to hang out with or want to meet, or even if you don't like the Yankees, you don't care. You respect him. He
has that mystique
that's really cool.
Yeah. That's crazy. So, John, let's talk about you touched on it earlier, where you sell your cards, and I got to tell you, the way you could tell you have the video thing going, because your story sales on Instagram, they're top notch. When you have your story sales, nobody touches you. I can tell you right now, because you got guys that sometimes you can barely see the price tag and it's all blurry, but you have a super nice graphics. Just talk to us about how that all goes down and the thought process behind it all.
Yeah. So my whole philosophy is that I never do anything half-assed, so if it's worth doing, it's worth doing in a quality way, like 100% all the time. And a lot of that reflects in that kind of stuff, and I really appreciate the comments on that. It's just
it's fire. It's
I just wanted to do something that looked premium, you know, and that piece actually started. It's lesser known now because I haven't done it probably it's been over a year at least. But I launched 2 Instagram accounts on a whim, just for fun, at the beginning of COVID. One was called $5 cards, the number $5 cards, and then one was called $10 cards, TEN dollar cards, spelled out totally. And those 2 accounts, I was like, you know what? I had a Flickr gallery. Like that's where I was storing a bunch of my $5 and $10 cards. And then people could go there and then they could email me and then they could tell me if they wanted something. And I had to go pick them out. And then it was a whole process. And then I was like, I really liked Instagram for sharing my collection and stuff. I wonder if I just started posting $5 and $10 cards, just have a gallery there. And then if someone 3 weeks after I post something wants it, they can just claim it and they can have it. I teased these accounts. I teased the $5 card account was the first one I did. I teased that one for about a week or 2 before I launched it. I had like maybe 200-300 people follow it before it had a single post. And when I tell you guys, I posted I don't know how many hundreds, a few hundred cards on there at least. And none lasted more than 5 seconds. A card went up, it got claimed. A card went up, it got claimed. I started playing around with it. I'm like, what if I post a card at 3:00 in the morning? Claimed. Like it didn't matter. I didn't like it. And then so I started like putting up fun stuff. Like I did bags of cards. Again, $5, you know, what's inside? Who knows? It's just a bag of cards, you know? And then, but people would like super claim that because it was like a grab bag, you know?
You know? You never know what you're going to get.
But every single one of those cards that and I could probably show it on here, every single one of those cards that I was posting, I photographed in a way that made them look premium, even if they were $5 cards, you know? And that was my thing. I wanted to make sure that everything that people were seeing there was that premium, you know, kind of outfit that you're used to with me in general. This is my spokesperson, had someone draw an Abe Lincoln, you know, spinning a basketball because why not? $5 bill. But again, it came along with the branding idea. But this is what the cards look like on the page. Right. So you had stadium lights, you had like a court with my face on it, you know, and you had, you know, the card being very well lit. Oh, here's another Abe. This is the dunking
awesome.
Abe. With the tongue out,
dunking Abe.
You know, but it was all branding and fun and I combined shipping for people too. So like it was just a flat shipping fee. So then you could buy 20 cards and you only pay $3.50 for shipping. So it made a lot of sense for folks, but it really worked well in those aspects. So I took the design of that and I brought it over into the story sales, which I do very infrequently. I'm glad you saw them because I haven't done one in like
it's been a while. Probably. It's been a while. I would just check them out and just watch them. Like I thought they were cool. Like I was like some cards awesome. I'm like, oh, these are awesome. Like some of these cards, I just like the presentation. I'm like, I gotta get
inspiration.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
I appreciate that. No, it's just like that's my collection overall, and that's like what I was saying earlier. Like I tell people like I don't buy stuff to sell stuff. That's never my thing. You know, so I'll buy stuff for someone in particular. Like if someone's looking for something, that's like the only exception. But I don't buy stuff to throw it on my website as inventory. The stuff you see on my website is from my collection. It's just been demoted in some way where either I could use a bunch of money. I'm selling my most expensive card of somebody so that I can free up some capital to put into something else I want to buy. Or it's, you know, like I said before, one of 6 cards or something that I have autographed by that guy. It's my least favorite. Might be your favorite still, but it's my least favorite in design or whatever it might be. Yeah. So yeah.
Like I said, it's cool. And then you would even put up like, you know, would say if it's PayPal, it's this much. If it's Venmo, it's this much. So everything, nobody had to worry about, oh wait, what's the 3%? Or it was all
thing that
there.
People were trying. Yeah. Cause it was just always like when everyone says net, it's like, well, then who's figuring that out?
Right.
You know, when someone says it's $5 net, like you can send it in, you know, goods and services, that's fine. But, you know, but make sure you're paying my fees. Well, how do I figure out what your fees are? Like, why can't you just settle on a number and let me pay you through goods and services? Like, why is this a problem? You know? So I just wanted to make it super easy for people to understand, you know, like, and be transparent, you know?
Yeah. Sweet. So let's talk about Roadshow Cards and some of your
Yeah.
other card business ventures.
Yeah. So Roadshow Cards is run by Jimmy, Kentucky Basketball Cards, as he's known on Instagram. Jimmy reached out to me. Man, I reached out to him. Maybe it was like 3 years ago or so. He was doing a video series. This is before he had stores. This is before he had a website. He was doing a video series. He was touring around. He was like your main kind of like prime hobbyist, going to stores across the nation, buying cards, loving the hobby. So great. He would send care packages out to people. Like he knew you wanted something. Boom, here it ends up at your door. Nicest guy on the planet. Like he just loves collecting and appreciates that. So he was going out and he was shooting a video series, talking to store owners and trying to spotlight these stores across the nation. The content was incredible. It was like on the ball, awesome, great. What it lacked was exactly the kinds of things that you guys have pointed out about my stuff. It didn't have that polished sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he shot it on an iPad vertically from this far away. You know, so that it was hard to see. He'd do an hour-long interview with a store owner, and it was too far, and you couldn't hear everything, and it was just like, man, this content is amazing. What he's talking about is amazing. The people he's selecting are amazing. The visual and the audio could be helped. And so I reached out and we knew of each other, like we both followed each other and stuff, but a mutual friend of ours made the introduction, and Jimmy and I spent like 3 hours on the phone talking about stuff. And at the end of the call, he's like, "You've been so helpful. I'm going to fly up to New York and take you out to dinner." And I said, "All right, man." So, and I'm like, "Well, if you're flying up to New York, then I'm going to take you to the YouTube studios, because I had rights to the studios from, I had a channel back in the day that had millions and millions of views. And so I still produce stuff with them. So I was like, look, I can rent a studio with YouTube. We'll hang out there and I'm going to show you how to shoot these videos with your equipment, and some equipment that I gave him. But like I'll show you how to do it right, you know? And so we went there and he's like, okay, well, if we're going to YouTube, then, you know, what about going to a Knicks game afterwards? And I'm like, all right, I can go to a Knicks game. So it was like back and forth. We're like, what else can we do for each other?
Yeah.
You know? So,
After the Knicks game.
Right. Yeah. Then you're like, oh, we'll do the Empire State Building. Then we'll do the helicopter.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I know we should have done the helicopter, but so it's great. Amazing experience. He came up for a couple of days. 3 weeks later, he calls me up and he goes, Jonathan, I want you, I want to make something like really big. I want you to help me come up with a brand. I know this would be so great. So he flew back up 3 weeks later to my office in Connecticut. We sat down for a couple of days. We came up with the name Roadshow. We came up with the name Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow was the original piece. We did a marketing whiteboard, went through all of the stuff that I know how to do in terms of like really pulling out the stuff, really creating a brand and identity that makes sense, that reflects what you're looking to portray and what reflects what you really are. Like there are things about Jimmy that he wasn't even thinking about, that it's like everyone knows this in the hobby about you and they love this about you. We need to make sure that we're getting that and we're incorporating that. So we built the brand. And then we did a field trip to ESPN because that was another fun thing. It was like, why not? I had a friend that knew somebody there. So we're like, go to ESPN. We're going to go see a big studio now. We've got to do something every time.
YouTube and now ESPN.
We're going to get you everywhere. Yeah. It's all about experiences and those things just, and having those unique things, just it's awesome. So came up with a brand then. And then he wanted to launch a website similar to mine. He's like, can you make me a website like yours where you're selling the cards and stuff and build it out? And I said, sure. So built the website for him, the original website, launched the brand. And then he ended up wanting to open a store. And so the brand expanded to the store, and then it expanded. Now it's going to be 4 stores. There's 3 that are open currently, one in Dallas or near Dallas, called the Texas Roadshow. One opening up soon in California, one in New York. Yeah, I'm wearing the New York one now. Right. One in New York. It's not in New York City. It's in Bronxville, New York, so north of the city. And then the one in Kentucky, that was the original. The original one is still the most awe-inspiring space because he actually purchased the building next to his, or rented the space next to his now, and he built a whole museum. So you walk through and you're seeing his memorabilia collection. It's like Hard Rock Cafe on steroids. I mean, like, you just think about what you see in a space.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He's got some stuff that's just unbelievable, and you're walking through and you're seeing it all and you're close to it. It's amazing. And then each store has some sort of inspiration from the locale. So in Kentucky, he's got the floor from the Rupp Arena, where Kentucky plays.
Yeah.
He has the actual floor. Is his floor. Like, you walk on history in that place. It's just nuts. In the New York store, he's got the floor baseline there from the Brooklyn Nets built into a card bar. So you walk up and you see Brooklyn across the side, and then he's got like a bar built on top of it. It's just sick. The California one's going to have a crazy, crazy one that I can't mention yet, but it's good. I mean,
actually taking the Hollywood sign and we're putting it in.
We're taking it. Yeah. We're just a couple of the letters, not a big,
they got the lion from Roars. It's in the
Metro Goldwyn lion.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Wild.
It's just so cool. And so I built the brand around that for him.
Yeah.
I still do the website design and all of the brands, all the sub brands and stuff. And just, always looking out to make sure that they're as professional as they can be. Like, that's the sense that, as you're building something as big as he wants to build it, you want to make sure that it's coming across in a really great way. I work with some other folks too, and it's, and it's just like I pinch myself some mornings because it's nuts to think about. But for the past year, I've been doing a lot of work for Beckett. Someone that I respected since I was a kid. I still subscribe to the price guide. I mean, 30 years later, I mean, crazy, and they were looking to really come out at the national, and at Mint Collective was when I first started working with them last year, in a big way. And so I did the video that was shown at the national on these mega screens, these 20-foot wide, 10-foot tall screens, these big video boards, and working with them on that. And I've done several other video projects for them, like on social and things as well. But just building those pieces out. I work with a store called Piece of the Game, which is a developing brand that's been growing out of New York, and he's got a couple of other locations coming as well, that he's got some amazing aspirations that I'm assisting with too. So just taking stuff from my wheelhouse and like bringing it into these spaces as much as I can to make it work. I'm a partner in a sleeve company called Smooth Sleeves that the inventor approached me originally and said, "Hey, I'd love to market these and figure out a way." And I went on my Instagram and demoed how cool these things are. It's just easier. They're super clear, but it's easier to get your cards into them without dinging the corners. And then it's easier to remove them from cases. Bro. So we're getting a patent for this thing. That's just a really awesome.
That's like a godsend. That's like my biggest fear. Whenever I got a dope ass card and I'm trying to get it in the damn sleeve and it won't go in. And I'm like,
They are the best sleeves. I'm seeing anything that I have here that I sleeve myself that didn't come like in the mail or something. They're super clear, but the back is taller than the front, and they're a little bit wider. And so when you put the card in, it just glides down. It's smooth, and it's just awesome.
Pull it right back out.
Yep. And then the top has like a little bit of a tab then.
Yes.
So what the biggest problem when you got a top loader is thumbing the card. You bend the card right in the top. Yeah. This, you can just grab the plastic. And it's not like a crazy long one. I've seen one. Long this, there's like this long thing that looks ridiculous. Like no one wants this, something simple. So
yeah. Wow.
But yeah, it's just a lot of different aspects, a lot of different areas, of the hobby that I've gotten to jump into on the professional side now as well. And it's awesome, and it's just, I'm always happy to lend a helping hand and, work with the brands I love. So,
yeah. So I had the next question, but I'm scrapping that because as you were talking, something else popped into my head.
Sure.
So when you're doing this whole roadshow thing, and so a lot of the local LCSs here, they're still that old school. It's a mess in the store. It kind of smells funny. Everything is a little bit everywhere. For you, what's the ultimate layout of an LCS?
I mean, if one thing that Roadshow has taught me just through working with this, and I mean, you got to look at every one of these things is a different experience. I mean, is what I would say. And even within the Roadshow brand, none of the stores look alike. I've always said they feel like Hard Rock cafes in a sense that there's a consistent branding when you walk in the door, but then the memorabilia and everything that you're seeing is really more tailored to where you are. The rest of the decor doesn't have to match exactly. It's not a McDonald's, right? You know, like that's not what we're dealing with there. It's I don't have a favorite, you know, I really don't. I think each kind of serves its purpose in a different way. Piece of the Game is the most premium looking store I've ever experienced. The way I would describe it is it's like a high-end jewelry store. All of the glass in the store is custom made. It's like circles, like half circle displays. And everything is behind glass and everything is QR coded. So if you want a price on a card, you scan it with your phone and you get the price and it's up to date. Like you don't have to like sit there and have to deal with so they're kind of combining tech with just kind of the only old school aspect there is like high end, like old school high end mixed with modern tech is where you're getting there. You got other folks like Bleecker Trading, you know, Mark does a beautiful job there with that space, but that space is different. It's not a store. Like he's not built a store there. He's built more of a social club. So that's one place that I love the couches. I love that they've got comfortable seating areas. I love that they've got the deck in the back when they're doing trade nights and stuff. It just creates a warm, welcoming atmosphere. And that's what I think is the most important. Like you should feel comfortable there. And what you described about the kind of the old school ones, like if it smells, why would you want to hang out there? You know,
I don't know what it is. It's like an old, like I just
know
picked
exactly
this
what you mean.
because my wife she doesn't collect cars, but the few times she's been in with me in an LCS, she's like, this is a mess, and I feel I got to get out of here. She starts getting all, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I get that. I'm like, why don't they make these places a little more so when mom takes little Jimmy to the store, she's not worried about all the
trying to rush out of there.
Yeah. She's like, you know, I can, you know, be cool like this. I don't know.
I was working with one of my LCSs here recently talking about like how to create a seating area and how to really focus in on those things for exactly that reason. So when the person that's accompanying the card buyer is there and having to wait, how do you make them comfortable so that they're not, you know, I mean, it's vitally important, but it's like the last thing that business owners think about. You know, like initially, at least, until they get complaints or they wonder why no one's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of them have been around so long they don't even bother. You know, it's just
I mean, you know, and it depends what you're in it for, and it depends what your clientele looks like. You know, if you have a store like that and you still have the same customers from 20 years ago coming in regularly, and you don't care about new customers, more power to you. If that's what you want to do, you know, continue on that path. If you're looking to innovate, bring in, you know, kind of the new crowd, I think Fanatics is going to do a lot in the crossover. I think at least they have a lot of aspirations to cross people over that were the customers that would watch the games. They would buy the hoodie or buy the hat, didn't know about cards, never cared about cards, didn't even know they were a big deal. Remember them maybe when they were a kid, whatever. Getting those people who are sports fanatics, you know, pun intended, to come over into cards now that Fanatics will end up owning the market, I think will be a top priority. And I think they'll have at least some success with that. I mean, it's not crazy to think about somebody who is supporting their team through wearing apparel to, you know, want to have a card of their favorite player, you know? So it's kind of making that easy for them, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like out of, you know, people know what card collecting is. It's not like some, you know, crazy off the wall type concept. Like, oh, I've never heard of that. They know it's out there collecting cards. So now Fanatics can come in and, like you said, make it accessible to the public. And he's like, yeah, I never thought about that. I can get his jersey and I can get this 101. Why wouldn't I? You know?
Yep, exactly. And they can help that education piece. And I think that's what the LCS has done for so long. And that's what's so important, vitally important about the LCSs and why they need to exist and continue on as well. That we can't go totally digital in a world either. It's that hand holding, right? Like you remember the first time you went into a card store, you opened your first pack of cards or your third or fifth or whatever it was, but you remember an early pack that you opened, that experience, the excitement you got when you found out that you had something big inside. One of my biggest Jordan cards in my collection was Hot Shots out of Flair, which is like a $4,000 card now.
Mm-hmm.
When I pulled it, I remember like it was die cut and it was like flame and it was like, and it was my favorite player. And I was like, I was kind of freaking out, but the store owner was freaking out even more than I was, you know? And so that kind of support like gets you excited. I think
you don't really want that card, do you, John?
Right. Yeah. Well, he offered me $125 for it. And I didn't take it. It was the most I've ever gotten offered for a card, though. And I was like, I thought about it a lot. I was like, I think that's a lot of money. I'm like, but it's my favorite player, and I pulled it. It's cool, you know. But I think that's where the success of breaking has come in, because good breakers, get excited for you, and they give you a reason to get excited when you're sitting at home watching your pack being opened. It's that same kind of that. It's the closest thing to an LCS feel when you've got a good LCS. But I still think, I mean, opening the pack yourself, and the store owner freaking out with you when you're in the store is still,
But I always get a kick out of the negative Nancy's that are, act like you've been there before. Like if you pulled a 101 or some rare card, whatever, PMG green, something crazy, you act like, these guys act like you wouldn't be celebrating, jumping up and down, hooting and hollering. I'm not saying you got to take your shirt off and do anything crazy like that, but you're gonna be celebrating. You're gonna be like, yes, and it's, I just can't stand these breakers, man.
We don't have that discussion very often, but like I always thought that was weird too. The appeal of these guys that aren't wearing shirts when it's mostly a male audience watching. It's kind of the antithesis of what you would have thought, but neither here nor there. It's just kind of a weird thing. But on that topic though, of like the 1-of-1 and stuff, my daughter actually picked out a pack. I have this on my Instagram. It's just, it was an amazing experience. She picked out a pack out of this box I got. It was the first pack that was picked. She's like, this is my pack. This is the one that I want. We opened it up. Inside was a 1-of-1 Luka Doncic.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like insane. And like and then my son is in the background going, 1-of-1. 1-of-1. And you can hear his voice on it. It's hilarious. I should pull it up just so you
I remember seeing that, and you were like, wait. I was like, honey, wait, just don't touch it. Don't touch it. Yeah, it's cool. Okay. Yeah.
You got to check it out. But it's just like it was an amazing experience.
That's what the hobby's all about. And some people just they want to suck the joy. We call them killjoys.
Yeah, totally. It's tough too now. Wax is so expensive in general. Like it's way more than it ever was. I try and explain to people like when they're like looking at something, I'm like, well, I used to buy these finest packs for $3 a pack, and that was the premium pack. Like it's just like they're what? Like you paid $3 a pack. Like, yeah, and well, actually, if it was hoops, it was only $1.25. It's like what? I feel like I'm like listening to my grandpa. When I was your age, but a hamburger was 20 cents, but no, it's that experience. And there's nothing like ripping cards and hitting big, and it's that gambling sense, and it's so cool. And I'm just hoping that that's one of the things I'm hoping about Fanatics and cards in general. Like even if Fanatics doesn't own the world on it, I really want to see more of that kind of low end pack opening. Like one of the greatest sets I've ever put together, it took me 15 years, was the 1996 Fleer autographic set. The first on-card autographs inserted into packs in basketball, in NBA licensed stuff. I know Scoreboard had stuff before that, but like in Classic. But like this was the first set. It was iconic to me. I wanted the Grant Hill. Like that was like one of the big ones that I got early on. But like Pippen was in it, Garnett, all these guys. That set came out of $1.25 packs, $1.50 packs.
Can you believe that, bro? That's so
and they were rare. Like it was like 1 in 288 packs in some of the products, 1 in 72 packs, and other ones that you would hit once. So you could open 2 or 3 boxes and not get a single one. But you could hit one for as little as $1.25. And that's what I want to see that come back. I want to see that aspect where kids can go and they save up $5, they can buy a few packs and hit something big. I'd love to see that happen.
Now, since Tony got to scrap a question, I'm going to scrap a question and ask. Now, you said you were in the music industry.
Yes.
All right. So I need to know what you were doing there. And do you have any like pop culture memorabilia, like what it would be, and what's your favorite thing?
I have a lot of signed CDs. So I did a lot of live music video production back in the day. So I worked with Maroon 5. I did a lot of work with them. Jason Mraz, Gavin DeGraw. I got to do a little bit of work with Lady Gaga, John Mayer.
Nice.
And then on some hard rock groups, Killswitch Engage, Seven Dust. It was a mix of just everybody. I got to do a backstage, production at Madison Square Garden, which was like my dream as a kid. I worked with Z100 for a little while, big radio station in New York City, for their Jingle Ball events and stuff. Was invited back there to do stuff with the artists, and it was crazy cool. I do have some memorabilia. Again, like most of the time I was getting CDs signed because that was the easiest thing to grab. I have a gigantic backstage pass collection of several hundred that I amassed over the years, and I started trading some tour managers and stuff for other ones.
Nice.
I'm actually I'm quietly trying to figure out if those will ever be able to get graded.
I don't see why not.
I think it would be a cool. I mean, there's so much emphasis right now on tickets,
right?
And people are going into that. Beckett's going into ticket grading now. We just did something with Micah Parsons recently that was really cool, and he had two of the first tickets ever graded by Beckett. He got in a little bit early, and because he was at the Aaron Judge game, and Judge signed the tickets for him at the game. It's just super cool. But they're going to be grading tickets. I mean, they already grade VHS and all these other things now too.
Right.
I'm wondering, when do we get to see the backstage pass zone? Because the backstage passes, I wish I had some handy. I'm gonna have an MTV one here, but
MTV backstage.
Yeah, that's got to be the next thing, right? He's like, you want to go?
He's cornering the market on backstage, but not a lot of people have backstage passes.
I'll see if I can grab one after. You can cut it in, but because most of that stuff's still packed away, but the backstage. So the problem that I have with tickets, not to knock them, because they're still hitting an event. You're at it. There's something super special about the fact that you're there. The thing about tickets, though, is they're boring, most of them, unless you get season tickets where they have cool graphics and stuff. If you're getting a Ticketmaster ticket or something, it's pretty boring.
Right.
Backstage passes, a lot of the artists have a lot of input into the art that goes behind these passes. And they do everything from satin passes that are stick-on. They're stickers, but they're cloth. That are used, for one day. That's what a lot of people get if they're just at a show for one day. They're a VIP guest, or they're part of the media or something. They get one of those, and then they have the VIP laminates that everyone always thinks about when you hear backstage pass. They're laminated. You wear them on a cord, and or if you're the artist, you usually have it on your belt as opposed to up here. But and those are there's a really thoughtful design that goes into a lot of those things. And some of them are rips on other bands, or they'll do stuff that's just kind of crazy and out there. So they're art in a totally different way.
Right.
So I think that would be kind of a cool, again, the market is way smaller than tickets because they don't have that.
Not many people have them.
Yeah.
You think about how many people come to an event with a ticket.
Bro, you already got the inside track on Beckett.
I know, it's funny. I haven't talked to them about it yet, but it was funny. I was thinking about it earlier today, and that's why it's top of mind right now. But I was like, you know what? I could get a bunch of those slabbed because it would just be cool. I've got
breaking news. Beckett is now grading backstage passes.
Backstage passes. Yeah, no, that'd be great. Awesome. I bet they will, though. I mean, I don't see why not. I don't see why
they pretty much grade everything else. That would just make sense, dude. And the rarity, like you said, the tickets, pretty much anybody can get them when they go to a game, but backstage passes, man.
Yeah.
The only thing that's actually, I will note about tickets that I didn't think about up until recently. A good friend of mine is a Steph Curry fanatic, and he flew around the country when Steph was going to make the 3-point record. He was going to every game. And when he came to the Garden to actually see it happen, his problem was he wanted to have the ticket and then get the ticket signed. His problem was his tickets were digital.
Oh,
and so, little known fact, most of the venues, if you have a digital ticket, if you go up to the box office, they'll print you one. If you really want one. Because I was I didn't even think about that. All these people are just showing up with these, especially if you buy it aftermarket on Ticketmaster, you just get transferred in your account. You never physically have that ticket.
Right.
So they might be becoming more rare as we go
true.
now. So much of it's
That's
digital.
true.
But
If you don't know that little tidbit, you're just going, you're scanning your phone, and you're good to you know.
And you have nothing left. We're gonna print it.
Let me screenshot this.
Yeah, that's wild. But so speaking of basketball,
yeah,
everybody who knows us knows we love our Philadelphia 76ers. Definitely not a secret. But what is a secret to some is that Jerry Stackhouse, the former 76er, plays a big part in the rarest card in your collection.
Yeah.
So tell us about that card and what the heck Stackhouse has to do with it.
Let me pull it. It's actually in the case back here. So.
Gotcha.
Um,
And then Oz, you could probably just jump to the last one then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So it's one of these cards that this is one of those cases where I just very excited about the fact that I had an eBay save search for 6 years to find this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd seen one in existence before that was signed by Michael Jordan. And I thought to myself, I never would have gotten that signed by Michael Jordan. It doesn't really add value to what it is. And you guys will see why in a second for anyone that doesn't know what this is. But after that point, I'm like, if there's another one out there, I want it. I want it so bad. And so I had this save search on eBay, and within an hour, or it was probably a few minutes of it getting listed, I bought it. I was just like, I don't care how much it costs, like just getting it done. So this is the original card. This is the card that most people have seen. I'll try and get a good light on it here so we get. Let's see how it comes. I should have done a practice run with the lights here.
There you go.
See if we can get it. Yeah. So this is the Jordan SPX 1996. This is the first. There we go. A little bit better.
Yeah, the hologram.
This was the SPX. This was the first year they did SPX. These cards were one card per pack, guys. Like, this is like, it was stupid. It was real. I mean, let's be honest. It was like, it was kind of, you open the pack and you only get one card, which also made it hard for the card to be protected. Because think about that, the design of a pack. These are wax packs. And this card was not protected by a card in front of it or behind it. It's just on its own. So they're I'm sure they're harder to grade in general. Anyway, so they have a hologram in there. You can see Michael Jordan right there in the background of this. There he smiles and stuff. Let me see if I can get. I wish I could do the light better. But there was another version of it that was an error that got out. That has your guy right there, Jerry Stackhouse, in the background instead. I don't know how you screw that up. My thought was somebody there had to have done it. Oh, there we go. Get it underneath.
Yeah, there you can see, like, so Jerry Stackhouse is in the back. It's Michael Jordan in the front and a hologram of Stackhouse in the back.
Totally nuts. So this is only the second one I've ever seen in my life. Like I said, the first one, Jordan signed the card here. At the Jordan at one of the camp autograph signings. I don't know why you would have him sign over Jerry Stackhouse when that's the whole reason that this card is so rare. It was just like
it was probably Jordan. Man, what the hell is he doing? Man, let me sign over this. You don't deserve it to be on my card.
Just get out of there. But it's cool, and you know, Beckett has the distinction on there too, you know, showing that it's an error with the Jerry Stackhouse hologram, which is really cool to have that recognized there too. It's crazy when you see, like, there's Jordan, and there's Stackhouse. I mean, it's just, and you guys remember, like, Jerry Stackhouse, you know, at the time, he was the heir apparent, you know, like, this is not, this wasn't just some random guy, like, having Jordan and Stackhouse on the same card. I remember the Stackhouse's scrapbook card that had Jordan on it too, that everyone wanted. Like, Jordan Stackhouse on a card was a really desirable card. So the fact that this exists is nuts, you know? And so, like, I went after it hard, you know, and that's one of those things, like, there's certain things you'll find at a show. I don't think you'd ever find that at a show, but there's certain things that you can find on eBay if you have the right save searches.
Yeah. If you know what you're looking for.
Don't be in a rush, right? Like, just
there you go.
6 years. I had that search up, you know? It's awesome.
And I mean, how, is there any idea of how many are out there, or like, how does it's just?
So Beckett's graded 2 of them. And PSA, as far as I could find, has graded none of them. And the only other one that I've ever seen was that one that was autographed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. 10, 5. I have no idea. It's really, and it's something that was like, what I liked about it a lot is like some error cards you go, oh, well, maybe someone fudged that, or maybe like,
right.
I'm sorry, there's no way that someone manufactured an SPX hologram card with the die cut. No, it's not. So it's pretty awesome. I really just, it's one of my faves for sure.
Nice. And that's a perfect way to come to a conclusion. And that's by getting some advice for new collectors or new people into the hobby. What advice would you give them to have the best experience possible?
Look, I always say, I've been saying it for years. A lot of other people have picked up on this too. But you collect what you love. That's what it's about, and enjoy what you're doing. I said this the other day to somebody, but like, we pick up these hobbies. Like when you think about doing a hobby, you want to have fun. And so if you're finding it frustrating, then you're either going after the wrong things or you're hanging out with the wrong people, and that's, I talk to many groups throughout the hobby, and people that are like talking about the sky falling right now, like within it, are in one group, and it's an echo chamber of all that kind of stuff. And the people that are like, this is the greatest time ever, I can finally afford cards again, are in another group, where, it's really pick your friends, like hang out in the circles that you want to hang out with. And if you're feeling like you're getting stressed with it, take a step back. Like, it's supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. Yeah. If you're in this for a business, that's a totally different story. Yeah. Like if your livelihood depends on the cards that you're buying and selling, then forget everything I just said. I understand the stress. I can't claim that work can never be stressful. That's a different story. I mean, we're all in different situations with that. Hopefully it's not, but if it is, it's, a different spot. But if you're doing it for the hobby, just have fun with it. Collect the guys that you love. I always say, like, if this stuff goes to zero, if it's not worth anything at the end of the day, it's still worth something to me. I'm still glad I bought it. Yeah. I always ask myself a fundamental question whenever I'm buying a card. Would I rather have the card or the money I'm about to spend? That's it. That's all you need. And if the answer is the card, you buy the card. If you'd rather keep the money, keep the money. I approach trades the same way. I approach every deal that I do that same way. I disagree with folks that feel like in order for a deal to be a really good deal, both parties have to be uncomfortable. They both have to give something, to make that work. I totally disagree with that. I think the best deals are when both people leave and go, I got what I wanted. This is amazing. I'm so happy we did that. And every deal I do, that's what I aim for. And it's not about a dollar amount. It's not about I got the better card out of it. It's about what resonates with you.
Right.
And what fits your collection. I buy some dumb shoe cards that no one else would want, but I like it because it goes with my shoes. I buy more Thomas Bryant cards than anybody on the planet, but I like him as a player, and I think he's, so that's great. Brings me enjoyment. Just pick the things that you love and stick with that. And eventually people tend to come around. It's no accident like that. I liked Michael Jordan in the 90s. I'm not the only kid that liked Michael Jordan in the 90s, but there's always going to be somebody else that likes these players too. So if you did have to get out of them at some point, you're probably okay if you really need to.
Yeah. You would be surprised what people collect. You would think you're the only person on this planet that would collect a specific person. Like, I don't know why I just bought this. And then there's somebody out there that's crazier than you that would love that and would pay anything for it. So it's crazy.
Yep.
That's wild. But hey, John, so we appreciate your time. But before we get out of here, plug away, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, your content, and everything that you have going on.
Absolutely. So Instagram is the main place for me, at Basketball Card Guy, all one word. My website, basketballcardguy.com. I'm going to be evolving that website a little bit this year as soon as I get a chance. But right now I do have some stuff that's available there. I do have a bunch of cards in my PC that are not available for sale, but people wanted to see them. So you can search by player name and stuff on basketballcardguy.com and see some stuff that I have that's rare or just kind of out there, uncommon things. It's kind of fun. I do have a YouTube channel. If you search for Basketball Card Guy, it comes up. I don't do a ton of YouTube stuff myself at this point, ironically, but I do post all of the interviews that I do outside. So this will be there too, on a playlist. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
This was fun, bro. John, we had an excellent time. This was great chopping it up. This was off the hook. And like I said, it's my two passions. I love basketball and I love collecting. So you take it to the next level. So we appreciate. And I'm definitely looking, like, if you could send your carpenter or whoever you had hook you up down to my basement. My wife is like, listen, I don't know what you got going on in that basement, but you got to do something. And it's getting a little crazy down here. So I definitely need
to sketch it out. Like, it's funny. I sold a couple of cards to fund this, but like all said and done, I think it was about $3,000 for the whole thing. Which, when you think about, like, it was all custom and the wood top and everything, like, it's attainable, and you just have to know what it is you're looking to do, and my main goal up front was storage, was just like, because as nice as that looks, if I had a bunch of boxes in front of it, doesn't look as nice anymore. Right. So like, I need somewhere to put the boxes, and that's kind of the piece that, if you make sure you get everything you want when you're doing something custom, but like, think about it a little bit, and ask her, like, ask another opinion. Like, she comes down, like, what is it about the space you don't like?
Like, all the stuff that you have, I don't like it. Just get it out of here.
All of it.
Sell it and give me the money.
That's good. Hey, John, real quick, how do you decide if a card comes in or out of the showcase? Or do you know what's how does that work?
They're on a rotation here. So it's mainly, and it's actually, like, I'm actually working right now to figure out. So like, my desk is like right in front of me here. I have a 9-foot wide video editing desk that takes up like a ginormous amount of space in front of me here. And in my old space, like, the desk was rotated a little bit more and I could see the cards more readily. When I work, I'm kind of like here, so I'm not seeing them as readily as I'd like right now. So I'm actually starting to think about, like, even positioning to enjoy them more. But yeah, I rotate out. Like, I have a case that's full of, like, celebrity autographs. It's just kind of fun stuff that I have in there. All the lighting in here is LED non-UV, and I even block out, like, I have a window here.
There you
go. There's the window
that's
blocked out with a blackout shade. So, so like, it's a lot of thought has gone into the
serious
aspects of the space. But yeah,
awesome. Love it. Well, that's it, brother. We appreciate you coming on board. We know you're a busy man. You gave us more than an hour worth of good entertainment. So we appreciate you, John. We definitely got to hook up. And you're going to be at the National, I'm assuming.
Yeah, always. Yep.
Excellent. We might see us a couple shows before that, but appreciate you, man. And we're going to end this like we always do. And that's keep focused, keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, bring the beat back.